We'll call this meeting to order, please. Appreciate everybody coming and being gentle with me my first time here. So at this point, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Dr. Flannery.
And for our monthly facilities update, Maintenance Supervisor Philip Patrick.
I don't know who all has their device with them.
It's pulled
Were
up.
you able to get that? Never mind, there it is. That's what I kind of put together, for what we've got going on. Just actually got off the phone before I came in with Doug Holman from Holman Construction. He's got the contract to replace the dishwasher at David Crockett, and they'll be there at 8 o'clock Monday morning to, actually Hobart will be there to do the demolition of the old dishwasher. And as you can see, the fueling station at the bus garage is complete, and I've watched 2 or 3 buses fill up. The propane fueling station, the charging station is also installed. We just haven't received our electric bus. But when it gets here, we'll charge it up.
Phil, if I can, what, the propane buses, are they, do you check miles per gallon with them like you do gas, or I guess by?
We do, we are recording the gallons of propane put in each bus, and of course, it'll be up to the driver to record their mileage at every fill up. And then
Any idea
accordingly,
what kind of
we
mileage you
have
do?
no idea myself. Maybe Randy will have a better idea on
It'll
that.
be
but,
worse than diesel.
Oh, really?
It will.
You know what, I'm sorry?
He said it'd be worse than these.
Well, I think so, but there's a breaking point there from what I understand about repair and upkeep of a diesel bus compared to a propane bus. So-
Propane bus doesn't have a $3,000 turbocharger in it either.
I was just curious, thank you.
Yeah. Boones Creek Elementary, the new Boones Creek, of course, we got all the flooring up and the mastic, or what we call adhesive, the glue is removed. Concrete is drying somewhat. Been a lot of discussion about that, a lot of meetings over that. There's been people from the contractor, the flooring company, architect's office. Tommy Burleson, your representative, has been there a lot, and everybody's monitoring that. And I'm sure, I think they have a report Thursday night for you. Gymnasium re-roof at Daniel Boone's complete, really nice job. Gym floor at Gray has all been removed. Materials arrived yesterday. Yeah, this is Tuesday. They started arriving yesterday. The hardwood's there, and I think the plywood probably should have shown up. And like it says on your notes, as soon as they get the subfloor, it's called a sleeper system put in, and they'll lay some plywood on top of that. Then the hardwood goes on, and of course the hardwood has to set in the actual gym, laid out for a while to acclimate to the humidity and that sort of thing. We do have a cooling tower. It's about to fail on us pretty quick, and we have been in contact with Hoffman, and they're going to do the repairs on that. Actually, they have their parts in hand, and we'll start that as soon as fall break starts. We're hoping to limp through this thing. You can drive by it if you're ever about by the middle school, and you can hear it. It's thumping, so it's on its last leg. Lasted us a good long while. So. And the last but not least is the school-age child care location at Boones Creek Elementary is ready for the state to be inspected and give us the okay to occupy that as soon as the full board decides that's what they want to do. And Ms. Hayes will be coordinating that inspection and so forth. And I'll be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Patrick, I got a couple things. As far as the status, and I know we're all going to look into this more, the status of the brick repair for Gray Elementary. Where are we at on that? Are we just waiting to see what we
I
decide?
think we're headed to HEW. Go ahead, Dr. Flannery.
All of the capital projects the board approved last month, we're taking to HEW when they meet October the 8th. And any luck, we'll leave the courthouse with $6 million, actually about $5.3 million when we get started on that.
Great.
Okay. Council question.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mr. Patrick, I was just thinking about something you said. On that, as bad as that moisture was in that Gray school, is that wood ever going to acclimate before we lay it? I know you still, when you walked in that gym, it was unreal, the moisture I just, when he talked about that brick repair, it got me thinking.
What Prater's Flooring will actually do a humidity test of the actual
The wood.
the ambient first, compare that with the moisture readings in the concrete floor, and then make the determination on when to
Yeah.
lay flooring.
Okay. I was just thinking about that, cause I thought, man, if we was to lay all that, which we have to, but
Yeah, but,
if we get that brick, if we get that thing sealed up a little tighter,
yeah,
I hate for it to counteract with, I guess it'd work itself.
well, it depends on where that moisture's coming from. We've got set theories that there's moisture coming in the walls, that the HVAC system's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. I've always advocated, as you know, about as soon as we put some load on that system, it'll start doing its dehumidification.
You're talking about Boone's Creek.
No, I'm talking about gray.
Okay.
And that's really runs across the system.
Yeah.
I mean, all of our buildings are sized with load on them, which means people, which means, 1,000 people in Boone's Creek, 900, 800 in Gray, and we're running maybe 300 on a half load, 400. So, we're just not getting quite the run time. I think things are getting much better at the school since we're open 4 days a week. So, I think that's helping.
Does those, like those older systems like Gray, Gray's pretty well maxed out on a normal day, isn't it? Student-wise,
Well, see,
in a normal school setting.
yes, sir. Yeah, it's got its capacity, yeah.
Yeah.
And, actually, the Gray school system's not very old.
Well, that's why I'm wondering,
That's a geothermal system. We actually have the wells in the ground there.
that's why I was wondering, that's many of them had dehumidifiers and stuff back last year. That's why I wondered if that,
You're talking about some of the classrooms have
Yeah.
dehumidifiers in them. Sometimes we place dehumidifiers when we have a teacher that's really affecting them
yeah,
a lot. And some others doesn't bother as much.
yeah. I got you.
Got a question, another one, Mr. Patrick. That's my understanding, we've got handicap walkways we're working on at Daniel Boone and David Crockett. Do you know the status of those?
Those are complete.
They are complete.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Even to the softball field, did we get one down there to hit?
Yes, sir.
I guess we're gonna talk about the energy savings proposals, probably in our meeting. Does anybody have anything on that, or any questions, or had time to review all that stuff? Anybody got any comment on that stuff?
Did we get what you and Jennifer did?
Jennifer's helped us make a little packet here. We'll probably get that at the board meeting, and it kind of narrows that stuff down and puts it side by side a little better. Instead of pulling it all out of the reports, we've tried to narrow it down where you can look at it side by side. Does anybody have any experience with those vendors they'd like to talk about?
We did have some experience with a vendor. Who was it, Steve? What happened, we had an issue with one of them.
So, it's Johnson Controls, Siemens.
Well, we had a big issue with Johnson Controls.
Okay, I knew we had.
So, I mean, I'm just gonna tell you, we had a big issue with them because they built Ridgeview, wasn't it, Philip?
Yes, sir.
Was that,
Well, that was an attempt.
was that Philip, was that a design flaw or a contractor flaw or a,
In
and Johnson Controls
Johnson
job?
Controls.
In other words,
Johnson Controls are just exactly what their name says they are. They're a control company that decided they wanted to get into the general contracting business. And they have, and they're a nationwide company, of course. They actually own York.
And Freak.
Some builders of chillers and things like that. And they still are a competent, I think, control company and a HVAC contractor and mechanical manufacturer. But let's just say their skills in general contracting were just not quite there. And it was not in a design problem. Everything went out as it should have. The bids went out, the design was correct, it was, you know, signed off by state, fire marshal's office and engineers. But submittals didn't come in as they should. You know, and as hard as I've sat and watched the contractor and the other subcontractors push, Johnson Controls to, you know, get the submittals in so we can get the roof system in, get this place dried in, those things like that. Just seem to have a problem with that, and that's what happened with Johnson Controls as a general contractor.
Okay, so you have looked over all these proposals. What's your top two?
Who's my pick for
Top
those?
two.
From which two?
No, top two. There's what, 4, 5?
For Johnson
Four?
Controls, Seaman, Energy System Group, and Westco.
So what's your top two?
My top choice would be Energy Systems Group. I don't have a second one.
All right.
Why would you choose them? What's the reason?
Energy Systems Group has worked around our area. They've done work for Bristol City School System, Johnson City School System, Sullivan County School System. All of those folks that are directors of maintenance in those systems I've talked with, been around with several years now. And, you know, they've got, their comments are, you know, they do what they say they're gonna do. And that's basically where I'm coming from.
So in their proposal, I've looked at this quite a bit. I mean, their numbers wise, they look really good, but they're pretty far apart as far as the expense. So that would just, it's almost half the price. So that would just give me pause as to why they're half price versus, you know, twice the money, and then they're showing it the same amount of savings or more over time.
Now, when I explain that,
Yes.
the only way I could explain that is that you all did, the school board did give them the opportunity to analyze the entire system. That's the only way I could explain that. I don't.
Are you saying, Whitney, that they're
So, you know,
twice the price to do the work,
they're half the price.
half the price to do the work, but twice the savings?
Well, as good or better on the savings, yeah. Yeah, they've got just as much, if not more savings. So they've got a couple $1 million in savings over the time, and everybody else is at 1.7, 1.8 million, so they're probably a little better in savings. It's just according to the information they put out.
Yeah.
But, I just wonder, you know, if we could look at a way to go a little more in depth at what they're actually gonna do. I know they put out proposals, but,
Well,
you know, what are they really doing?
we had, I don't know if y'all got it, but we had some two in depth.
Right.
And then we got help me Philip,
It was a
we got
scaled down.
a breakdown that was more layman's terms, I
Right.
think. I don't know what you might got yet, or maybe you got it all. But the one was so deep, I don't think anybody figured it out.
You had to be an engineer to almost read
Yeah.
it, I think.
Yeah, and then we got a more, we asked for like a 2-page version, is what we did, if I remember correctly. So then we got the 2-page version, and that's kind of where we got. The problem is, I'll give you a little history. We elected to not use energy systems. We ended our discussion with them. Then, for whatever reason, they got brought back up on the table, and the only unfair thing about what you've got right there is what Mr. Patrick said, they did the whole system, the whole school system. So they know more than anybody else on that list by far.
Right.
And they spent a ton of money doing it, I'm sure. So, there's a reason why theirs looks so much better than everybody else's.
Why was they allowed to do it, and that was what?
Well, originally, and I don't know how this come about, but somehow or another, we just said, you all do it. Well, then after we had a series of meetings.
I think the board told them to go ahead and do a study.
Okay.
Yeah.
This particular company.
This particular
Yeah.
company, yes, sir. I mean, they weren't doing
Supposed to be
any kind
like
of work
50
except
some
for
thousand.
research, engineering, and that sort of thing.
65.
And they waived
Yeah.
it. to do it for
They,
free.
yeah,
But they weren't very transparent though in the
They
process.
didn't put it into terms that we could understand it, they put it in,
They're
like
fine.
Philip said, engineering terms.
Well, anytime that you met with them, they would, and it would give you a clear answer of what you wanted, right, Philip?
No, I think the biggest question was from, I think most of the board members, and correct me if I'm wrong, was, how much are you guys gonna be making on this? Is it 1%? Is it $1 million? Is it $100,000?
Or what all are you gonna do too?
For what all
Exactly.
they, yeah, for what all they were gonna do, and
they went all the way around the answer, and it wasn't a trick question. They just never would tell you, so we just kinda lost trust and said, we're done after a series of meetings. Then we decided, the question was asked, well, why did we not ask anybody else to bid it in the first place? Why did we just choose them? Which still don't know why we did that. I guess I was a guilty party too, but, so then we went back to this, and we thought, well, maybe this will help us a little bit, which, I don't know if it helped you or didn't. So, anyway, that's how we got where we are
Mr. Mayor,
today.
we took, I think, I don't know, myself and maybe Mr. Day, or we came up with Daniel Boone, we figured was the greatest need as far as energy renovations in the system. So we used that building and asked these contractors, and somebody can correct me again, I don't have the material in front of me, but we give a few key points. What can you do to save energy at that school? And with those energy savings, what would the upgrades be? Without adding any money from the budget of the Washington County School System or the county commission or from operations from my department. Say, so if we replaced all the air conditioning units at Daniel Boone, we wouldn't have to work on them for 2 or 3 years, so some companies count that as a savings. But the board decided not to ask, we don't want that counted because we've got work to do anyway. So that's where this 4 company process came from, and that's what they determined.
In their proposals, it broke down per school, the ones that did a complete survey, or is just as a whole?
In Energy Systems' original proposal, it broke down every school. And
So, could you compare what they estimated for Daniel Boone to the other ones on just the one school? 'Cause
That's
the
what
only
this
school
is.
that
That's
they
what
got.
that is.
Okay,
So,
Yeah.
all 4 of these are just on
just for
Daniel.
Boone.
Yes, sir.
And see, and here's the problem, we kinda was trying to really do justice, and we kinda made it harder, because here's the deal. They had the upper hand on everybody else already, because they'd done the most work. Then second of all, you know, these other systems, they didn't get as thorough of a chance as what they got, in all fairness. Plus, you don't know what the other systems would have saved you on another school.
Right.
So they might have had bigger savings at Lamar or Westview than Energy Systems Group does, but you'll never know because they wasn't all gonna spend $50,000 to $75,000 to tell us. So, you know, that's why I don't really know how they got back in the ballgame, but I wasn't here that night, and they did.
What did the board vote not to use them?
We voted to, no, we didn't vote not to use them, we voted to not discuss it anymore with them. I think
So-
that's correct, wouldn't it be, Dr. Flannery?
That is true.
Well, we didn't say we didn't want to use them, or we wasn't going to use them, we just said, we're done talking about it. Because we couldn't get any answers.
So you didn't fire them?
We didn't fire them, we never
Okay.
really hired them. And because like Chad said, everything you'd ask them, well, for example, one comment I remember very clearly, Russ, what's his name?
Russ Nelson.
Russ Nelson. When the night we decided we're done talking about it, he says, well, I didn't realize you wanted this to have no cost to you. I could have done that if you'd asked. Well, why would we have to ask? I mean, obviously, that's why we're sitting here talking about it. So that just kind of, you know, that's the kind of stuff we dealt with them. But here, in all fairness, they may be the very most qualified to do the job. I don't know. Mr. Patrick thinks so.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not on this committee, but I don't wanna talk about this Thursday night in the board meeting. I wanna have a call meeting And I'll request that in the board meeting to go over this thing again.
It's a lot of information.
And I wanna have a call board meeting, so I'm going to request that in our board meeting to do this.
Look, could we have the representatives to come? At
No,
this call board meeting?
because I think we need to go over what Philip and what Whitney, you've done put a packet together.
Okay,
I think we need to sit down and say, all right, is this what we're getting? Do you wanna do this? To be honest about it, I think our finance man needs to be involved, because he needs to see the numbers.
Mr.
He's
Hale
supposed to have
will
a-
have a report for the board Thursday night.
Okay. So, I just don't want, I wanna do it in a call board meeting. So that's just
And,
my
you know,
opinion.
they have done some work for you all. You remember the boiler went out at David Crockett?
Yeah, they did that.
And we had to replace that, and they had already engineered the new boiler package for the large project, and, the board decided to go ahead and let them do that, and they put 3 new locking bar boilers in there, and
I think the way they did that though, it cost us $200,000 we didn't get back, wasn't it?
We didn't have 3 bids, county
We
wouldn't
didn't
pay
have
for
3
it.
bids, yeah.
So, it had to come out of fund balance.
so, I mean, we were in a position where we either opened,
It was an emergency.
yeah, heat, so we had to have heat.
It was an emergency.
And if we'd had it re-engineered by somebody else, then it'd been probably 3 weeks or better, time we got it to the fire marshal.
Speaking of bids, if I could, state law says about school boards, contracts for energy-related services that include both engineering services and equipment and have as their purpose the reduction of energy costs in schools shall be awarded on the basis of recognized competence and integrity and shall not be competitively bid. What that means is you are under no obligation to go with low quote. You can do whatever you want to with these 4 contracts.
Okay. Well, sounds like we got a lot to talk about on that one. So, a lot of information, and thank you, Mr. Patrick, for that. Question on the status of the roof repairs at Daniel Boone. How are they coming along?
it's complete.
Complete?
Yeah.
Completely done.
So it was on the gymnasium, of course, and then I think, Dr. Flannery has taken that to HEW about the remainder,
Next week.
the remainder of Daniel Boone too.
All right.
It'll still have to go to the full commission, which that'll be the end of October.
We had talked yesterday in the Finance Committee about tracking costs, more related to each school. So a question I would have, as far as work orders and things, do they tag to each school so they could efficiently track costs to that, or is that something we could do?
You're speaking of the work orders themselves.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's take, for an example, let's make sure I'm understanding, we get a work order that have a commode that's leaking at David Crockett. If I have to say buy a new commode, would that be tracked to David Crockett? Probably not, as we're presently doing. If I buy a $4,000 compressor for a large train unit on grade, that purchase order will have grade compressor for HVAC unit, $4,000 emergency purchase or price inquiry or whatever the legal purchase is. That one would be tracked. We go to buy $10,000 worth of filters, those are not separated. But just taking the big items, electric motors on pumps, compressors, condensate coils we have to replace, something like those can be tracked. We may get an order of paint together for, 10 gallons here and 5 gallons here, and we may have 25 gallons we're picking up, and then my guy takes and delivers it to every school, so we don't know exactly where each gallon of paint went, but. And then, of course, we have guys that go buy stuff, and it'll be stocked, put on their van, bolts, belts,
So-
probably could be any number of things.
what I'm, I guess what I would be getting at is the finance is looking to more track the cost, you know, and the different things that are, you know, small, uniform, or 10,000 filters that you spread out over the whole system. They're more looking for just basic costs to each school to see
We could,
what it costs to run each one.
Yeah.
You know.
give them direction on what, let's do with the finance director and the director, and maybe this committee gives us a little direction on how fine they wanna cut that down, that would be possible. I mean, we could even separate the paint. We just
have
buy it
to-
on each purchase order, you know, if like, Crockett would have a purchase order for paint this time, and if we were picking up 3 schools worth of paint, we'd take 3 purchase orders that day, and then it would be tracked.
Sure.
And he's got the capability to put it, you know, put a coating, in other words, coating for each school. But yeah, with direction, we could surely do that.
Okay, yeah, that's just something that we're looking to do, to get a better idea of what each cost
What each,
was
yeah,
per school,
sure.
just so we know that, you know, when one starts getting a little more older and needs more work, just so we
Yeah,
can
plan better, yeah.
better plan and track that. That leads into another thing I'd like for everybody to be thinking about. Maybe we would do a little long-term planning, maybe over the next 5 to 10 years of the facilities, see what we're gonna need long-term for each facility over time. And that's not something for today, but just be thinking about that, and maybe in the next few meetings, we could kind of talk about that a little bit, and start developing a plan.
We have a long-range plan,
We do.
but it moves.
It moves.
It moves
Yeah.
quite often.
Okay. All right. Very good. Does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a couple questions for Mr. Patrick. The basketball goals at Lamar
They're moved to the top of the list.
and the soundboards for the gym in Lamar. When we had the bats in there, we had to take all the soundboards down.
Right.
And it's like amazingly loud in there. So will those be replaced?
Actually,
I'm having
we-
our guys check to see if insurance will cover that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Jared's checking to see if insurance will cover the damage that was done.
Actually, we've already bought them.
Well, let's keep the invoices separate, we might get our money back.
Okay.
So,
Actually, we didn't buy them, if I can explain. In the re-roofing of the gymnasium at Daniel Boone, Tectum panels are used in the roof system. Tectum panels are the same thing that are used as soundboards in the gymnasium. And they allowed so many boards because of the estimated damage Tectum boards on the roof. They didn't use them all. And I think we've got enough in the shop right now to do it. And we've already paid them.
That's great.
So labor be the only thing involved in that.
So
does
create
that
an
need a-
invoice.
so does that need a work
Yeah, we just have a
order?
labor. It's like, ma'am,
So does that need a work order?
That's a freebie.
I'm sorry.
Do they need to put in a work order for that?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll take care of that.
okay.
Yeah.
In our last meeting, the athletics, they were talking about buying some new scoreboards. What is involved and how long would it take to change out scoreboards? Is that something we would do ourselves, or would the scoreboard company be involved in that?
I guess we would probably, if we start pricing numerous scoreboards, we would probably price it 2 ways. As us doing the labor to install, or let them install. Because if we get several of them, I mean, it takes us a while to get to them, and then all of a sudden, we get pulled off on something broken. And so we need to probably price it a couple of ways. If we're just getting one scoreboard, you know, that's something we'd do. We'd hire a little crane and set it,
Right.
go from there. But if we're gonna replace like everything in Grandview or something like that, then we need to probably look at contracting the whole thing.
So Mike, we may need to mention that to those guys.
When they price it.
That just
Price it
occurred
installed.
to me, so,
So, Mr. Patrick, is on the buy board, is there anything on there for like scoreboards and things like that?
I haven't looked to see if that's on Buy Board or Sourcewell.
Right.
We deal with 2 or 3 different companies. We can, but I'm sure there's a co-op buying.
Because if
Source.
there's a co-op buying, we do not have to get it out.
Is there any way you can check on that before Thursday?
Jared's working on that even as we speak.
Okay, thank you.
If you remember correctly, we put the lighting up at the softball field at Crockett through
Yes, so we
co-op,
didn't have to get
labor
it
and
out.
all.
Yeah,
Really
saved us
sweet.
quite a bit of
Yeah.
money.
Sometimes that's
Because you really, you get exactly what you want, but some questions asked.
and they're responsible.
Yeah, and if, you know, if the price is acceptable to the board. If it's acceptable, then you know you're gonna get what you want.
Anybody else have anything? Yes, sir, Mr. Chad.
I've got some questions about Boones Creek Elementary, the new one. We don't actually have a current list. I mean, I've heard several things that we've had trouble with at that new school. Will we be furnished a list by Thursday to see what all your work orders that you have in your system or whatever that occur? I mean, I know the floors one, humidity in one classroom is 95%. You know, the lockers can't get combinations, they won't work, you know, none of the master combinations will work on those lockers. I mean, there's a couple of different things. Roof, ceiling tiles are wet in, you know, in 2 rooms. I mean, I don't even have a full list myself of knowing
No,
what.
I'm sure you wouldn't. I haven't sent a list to anybody. Of course, I hadn't been requested to send a list, but
But I mean, with us having to talk to the contractor and architect and Tommy, and I don't even know what to expect Thursday, but I thought we were gonna have a plan of action on how we're gonna fix these items. So it'd be helpful if we had a list of items that are, you know, that are problems. And also another question is, do we have, like, we only had a year warranty. And I assume all this is covered under a warranty, but like the floor, when this does fix, you know, whatever the concrete's gotta dry or whatever, if that's what they're saying it needs to do is dry more, and then we're gonna put the floor down, if the glue starts to come back up, moisture pressure, you know, problems come back up, is it another, I mean, are they gonna warranty another year,
I
or?
would assume that'd be a negotiated item between the school board and the contractor.
Because,
That's something I can't answer for you, actually.
We need to settle all that Thursday.
Yeah.
so we're gonna talk to them, and then,
But we would need to know what we're talking about, like he's asking for a little ammunition, to know what we need to ask for.
I don't have a list, I mean, I just know that the water, I mean, it's on the wall, looks like the water is coming from the wall and from the floor, both directions. Is that what you've seen?
No, sir. Not what I've seen.
Dr. Flannery, is Mr. Bennett gonna be on that Zoom with us?
He will, and your attorney is meeting with the contractor and with Mr. Burleson tomorrow afternoon as well, privately, to discuss the scope of work and the negotiated contract. So your attorney will be able to advise you and will be fully informed by Thursday evening.
I got 2 more things, Whitney, if you
Yes,
allow
sir,
me.
Mr. Flynn.
Gray School, we also talked about the bleachers were in bad shape.
Yes, sir.
Are they gonna be replaced while you're replacing this floor?
No, sir.
Okay.
And the reason being, we just can't get money quick enough. If we can get it through HEW and the county commission,
Mhm.
it would've really been nice if all of it would fail together and we could've got the bleachers
Right.
completely out of the way, but, the way it looks right now, they're gonna get the floor down and they'll put the old bleachers
Back.
back. And, which is not a big deal, it's just another disruption, which is not very convenient, but, we just couldn't get the money quick enough.
Do you think it'll be ready for basketball season at Gray School? Or are we better off to wait until,
The floor will be ready, the bleachers maybe not. Now, and let's say we could get some money approved by December, I don't know, and get us a contractor and a vendor to put them in, maybe over winter break. Put some new
Basketball play
bleachers.
starts 45 days.
that's what I'm saying, I just wonder if it's gonna be,
That's what I'm afraid of, it's just not something I replace every day, so I don't have a real good.
Is the
feeling.
bleachers unsafe?
Yes.
they're old,
Yeah, I don't,
they're not handicap accessible, no rails,
Oh,
no.
they're, but to be honest, they were the best set of wooden bleachers in the county.
Oh, yeah, they
Those
were.
folks out there took care of them, and they really went in and out good, but now
They're solid.
that understructure is just wore out. It's gone, but, and they're still, I mean, don't get me wrong, you're safe to sit on, but they don't have the 4-inch sphere roll on the railings and that sort of thing.
So what, just not to disrupt their basketball season, how do we best need to handle, because they can play on the floor now, or they cannot play on the floor right now?
Cannot play on the floor. I think they're having a little practice and staying away from that
Okay.
worst part, but, no, they shouldn't be playing on the floor.
So, and I know I ain't trying to put a timeline on you or whatever, but sounds like it's gonna be impacting their use of,
For basketball?
yes,
Can they
sir,
not use them at all?
not the full court,
No, I mean the bleachers.
no, the floor.
We're gonna fix the floor.
Yeah, but is it gonna be
I
done?
think it'll be ready by basketball.
Okay.
I really do, I think so, because, like I say, the material's there. And, yeah, they'll get, and they can start putting down the, sleeper system, that can all go down, and then what they'll do is actually unbundle the floor, start laying it out, and it'll all be laying flat on the floor, and they'll go start checking their moisture ratings, and as soon as it's ready, they start hammering it down, and they'll nail that floor down in probably 2 days.
Okay.
And then they'll come in, sanders, you're looking at another week of finish work. And then, when I say finish, I'm talking about sanding, and then probably a week worth of finish, such as 2 coats of sealer, then screen it, put the lines on it, and then 2 more coats of sealer on it.
Mr. Patrick, approximately how long does it take to disassemble the old bleachers and put new ones in?
I'm not able to answer that.
Have you not done that
See,
one?
the thing about it is, though, is they're not gonna disassemble these bleachers that are in there. What they'll do is they'll start in the middle of the floor, and they'll lay hardwood floor out to the old bleachers. And the old floor is still under there. Well, they'll unbolt it from the wall and push them out onto the new floor, unfinished floor. The unfinished new floor, then they'll take all that up behind it, clean it, then finish the floor all the way over, behind the bleachers. Then they'll sand, screen, put 4 coats of sealer and finish on that. Put those bleachers back on that finished, completely finished floor, back to the wall, both sides, and then start in the middle and come back out again. It's a little process, but
Is there still 2 sets of bleachers?
yes, ma'am.
So they'll do that on both sides.
He's got one more.
Yes.
One more.
Get used
It's
to
it.
that.
Boones Creek Middle School.
These liable tables up there.
The Boones Creek Middle School, while we're in committee for facilities, how are we gonna handle that? We're gonna see the bids Thursday, and we'll make a decision Thursday,
Or not.
or not?
What was that question, what did you say?
How is that gonna be handled, the
I want-
bids for the middle school?
Per your directive, gosh, 3 months ago, the brokers will be here Thursday, and they're gonna be here virtually, by the way, they won't be here physically. And they'll make a presentation to you, which you can either accept or reject.
Has our attorney looked over the paperwork on that?
Nobody in-house has seen anything yet.
Okay.
I've talked to them, but I've not seen anything in writing.
Mr. Day?
Yeah. I just had to stop the other day. The bleachers at Crockett and Daniel Boone, everybody says they're condemned. Who condemned them?
I don't know.
The football, the
Yeah.
concrete,
Oh,
underneath the
The
concrete.
football, have they been condemned?
Well, that's
I've
what-
heard since I've been on this boards are condemned.
You can't use the rooms underneath.
That's correct. There are no rooms underneath them.
But why can you not use the rooms underneath them? Because there are not any?
Well, there's just,
Why are we wanting to replace them, I guess is my question.
because they are at their life cycle. They, we're, you know, they're at their life cycle.
Didn't we have an engineer check it several years ago?
We have had engineers look at them and did the repairs that they suggested on
Right.
them. But we've about put our last Band-Aid on them, if you understand what I'm saying. They're just,
Well, I thought, just like Jason did, I thought they were actually condemned.
no, sir, if they're condemned, we're not allowed to use them.
Well, that's what I thought.
We
Everybody
have no
kept saying they're
documentation
condemned.
I
anywhere.
think they just wouldn't allow use underneath was the
He's
part
made the
they.
statement of somebody ever, came and looked at the property.
Well, I'm not
Rooms
getting somebody to
underneath,
look at them.
because the only thing that sealed them from the weather was concrete, and then them joints were on that pre-stress.
So can we get somebody to come look at them after football season?
Absolutely, if that's what the board chooses. Now, if you want a true, that costs us some money to have a true engineering study done. So,
Hey, if you want them
Yes,
fixed.
sir.
And that was, I guess Jason looked at my notes. But I guess you looked at my notes. But on our retreat, can you get us some numbers on Boone Crockett renovations? football? I know we've been estimating
For years.
10 million each, 7 million each, something like that.
That's kind
'Cause
of
I'd
where
like
I was
to-
going with that.
I'd actually like to tear the concrete down completely and put aluminum back up.
See, we did before, right before y'all got here, we've been doing that, or we've been talking that a little bit too, again, if I may.
Well, it was on our 5-year plan.
Plan. And
What,
that's why I'm
21,
asking-
22, 22,
That's
23,
kind of why
something
I'm
like
asking
that.
this question, because just like the gray brick deal, it was on the plan. We didn't have any idea what it cost. We said 300,000, and it's million. So I wanna know, are they fixable? Do they need to be tore down? I want to eventually get this board to elect to go get some numbers from an architect, just like we did gray brick. Cause the commission needs to know, they don't need guesses, they need to know what this stuff really costs, and we don't know. So,
That's exactly right, and I can't have you anything by October 14th, no, we can't get anything by then because, and I'll tell you the reason because, first of all, you want an engineer to determine the structural soundness of the current bleachers we have, which I think we all know that they're on their end of their life cycle. Second of all, to get the prices you're wanting, you will have to develop a scope of work. You know, if you want bleachers, how many bleachers? Do you want to leave the lighting where it is? Do you want to put the lighting behind the bleachers? Do you want new public bathrooms with a concession stand? Do you want a larger field house? Do you want a training room, coaches' offices? I mean, it just goes on and on. You can be like Brentwood High over in Nashville, or you can do anything in between. Some have compared it and talked about what happened over in Unicorn, which is a great stadium. But I don't know that they've got to the scope of work you all want and to get exactly what you want.
And maybe we can work on our scope at retreat to give Philip to start working
Well,
on
you
too.
could do that, or maybe you're, I mean, just a suggestion, and I'm not the one that says that send something to the committee to kill it, but if you had a stadium renovation committee that was of a certain focus group, that's all they talked about, and come with a proposal for the whole board
This is
about a
what we want.
scope, you know, does that make sense?
I think that starts with a report on the structures.
Yeah.
I think that's where I think we need to put together, we need to get some kind of real report on where we're at, and then move right into what you just said.
Well, then I think maybe you could get the facilities committee probably needs to recommend to the full board to hire an engineer to do a structural study on the stadiums at Daniel Boone and David Cross.
You talking about a motion,
I'm sorry?
you're talking about getting a motion together.
If you want to spend some money, you'll have to have one.
Who does civil engineer?
Sir,
Who do we get to do civil engineer?
that would, that can also be up to the board. I don't have one off the top of my head. Now, our architect we use with, you know, Ken Ross and Thompson and Litton, those folks have civil engineers they'll use, and I'll be glad to put that in motion after y'all decide.
Go ahead, Keith.
Well, I've been on this board for 14, 15 years, and the stadiums has come up, and I mean, the previous board knows that it needs to be replaced. We know what's going on, but
You ain't done
When
nothing
it-
about it.
all right, Mr. Day, when you take it to the commission and they say no, then what are you gonna do?
Did you take them a report? on
Yeah,
exactly
we've took
what
them
to do?
reports,
Well,
we
it don't
took
sound
them,
like we have
we've
one.
told them that we've got this on our 5-year plan that we wanna replace, and they say no. I hope they do it. I'm in favor of it. But I have been turned down many times on these, have we not, Philip? They know that these are in bad shape. Are they handicap accessible? No. We do the best we could do. So, you're looking at probably, what do you think?
No,
$7, $8 million?
Mr. Irwin, you're not hitting me in that one.
Well, I mean, you know,
appreciate it.
we've talked about it. We've talked about it.
We
We
have-
want it done.
And
But
if you remember, the first numbers we got thrown out there was what, 12 to 14 million?
12
Is that what
Yeah.
y'all saw?
Yes.
Now, and know that was on that 5-year plan we developed 10 years ago?
Yes.
And we gave, y'all gave Mr. Street, I think, really broad spectrum just to get it out there. Well, out there is here now. Now's the time we need to sort of do, I think, what,
So if
we
we
need
do,
to, you know, they need to see something from an engineer and the commissioner.
All right.
Wow.
If that engineer comes back and says it's unsafe, are we stopping football?
You ain't gonna choice.
No, you won't stop football, you just won't be sitting in the stands.
That's why I said,
You all,
I don't mean to be funny, but.
Yeah,
well, it's,
If we
you're
went there
you're
for
looking at,
football and they come back and say no, then we don't have time to get it ready before football season starts. Then what we do?
I think if we put together a tighter plan, instead of just kind of throwing it out there, if we come with some real numbers, here's what it's gonna cost us, they may look at it, and I don't know what's been in the past, but they're gonna look at that harder than if we just throw a number out there.
Well,
If we bring real numbers, like, you know, what he's saying. we need-
well, also, when you go in there and tell them they can't sit on them no more, they gonna have to fix them.
Right.
I mean,
But in order to do that, we're gonna have to hire an
we
engineer to tell
we
us.
got to vote to hire an engineer, and that's kinda where I was
And it may
going.
be that an engineer finds it, says you need to close this section off. I mean, I don't know how that works.
Chad has got
I think we should price one. Go ahead, Chad.
I'd like to make a motion that we get us 3 engineers, or, you know, maybe 2 of the architects and a civil engineer by itself, because, and see what their prices are to come back to see what it'd be to look. Can we have that by our fall retreat, 2.5 weeks?
Yeah, and.
Just
Sorry, I
to,
didn't-
just to
I
check
didn't-
the structures of the concrete bleachers, to give us an update on. Could we talk to Thomas Linton what they would charge, and maybe Ken Ross what he'd charge,
We
and
can,
a civil?
well, I don't, yeah, we could do that.
Or would we go straight to a civil engineer rather than architect?
Well, that's the reason I want to
So we
waste
don't
the
have to
price
pay
on
that.
that.
I'm really, this is kind of unfamiliar to me because we usually always have our architect pull their engineers, they got groups they use, of course. I mean, even Tommy Burleson could maybe recommend you a civil engineer just off the top of his head, because he is a design build.
Yeah, let me change my motion, if you don't mind. Let me make my motion
What do you mean to say?
to ask 2 architects and 2 civil engineers what they would charge to give us a engineering study on both sets of concrete bleachers, the health.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So Mr. Flinter's made a motion that we have a set of 2 architects and 2 civil engineers we contact and ask them for pricing on what they would charge to give us a report on both sets of bleachers. So
Hopefully.
Daniel Boone and David Crockett High School.
Yeah, and maybe just their quote price for what they would charge.
Point
by-
of discussion,
Yes,
sir.
but,
Who was the
oh,
second?
yeah, I'm sure you probably
Yeah.
can't get,
Who? Thank
you probably can't get a lump sum, but we're talking about hourly pricing. Would that be
just
acceptable?
ask them what their, you know, a ballpark of estimated cost, what it'd be to do a health study on those bleachers.
I think the only pricing you'll get is by the hour, to be honest, because that's, engineers are sort of set up that way, and they'll go out and,
Your local ones that you hear about, Fawn and Melton, Ty Singer and Hampton, and Matter and Craig. That's kind of the 3 that you hear a lot of people talk about in our area. Now, I don't know if it's like a doctor, you have to have a doctor's request to get a specialist. You know, I don't know if they could do it without going through a contractor, but
I believe they'd do it.
I think they
The
would too.
engineer just go give you a report. They don't need an architect to tell them to do that.
I think you're right too. You're just, and we we need to be pretty specific about what we want them to do. So you want them to determine the structural integrity of the
Bleachers.
bleachers, is
The
that
health.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Okay,
and a good faith estimate. I mean, I know it won't be
okay,
exactly, but
okay.
I,
But my only problem is, what we gonna do if they come back and say it's not?
Well, they won't be done with their estimate though, right here in October, it'll be December before we get them back.
I know, but if they come back and say it's not,
That's
You
good, Mike.
can't use them.
we can't
We'll
use them,
get
then what we
out.
gonna do?
We're out of
Well,
football game.
But you know, really and truly though, we owe it to her.
Oh, I mean, I understand, but I'm just saying,
Surely the guy
looking
can build
forward,
a year.
looking forward, if we have to replace them and the commission says we don't have the funding to do it right now, I mean, we don't have
Bring along,
football.
sure. I mean, they'll have to do something. I
They've
mean,
had 10 years before the key to get the money.
Don't get me wrong, I agree with y'all 100%, I'm just,
I mean,
Well, you're
it's
fixing to
out there a little
get,
bit.
you've got, in that 10 years, you've had a new school built. You've got a,
3 new schools.
yeah, 3 new schools built. You've got a ball field, football field, whatever they're gonna do at Boones Creek.
And the reason why I got
So-
pushed back this last time is because of Boones Creek.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Well, at
right.
some point you got to.
And you
push
get
it
the
back.
school in Jonesboro that they're gonna make a
Yes,
payment
it
on
helped me
every
and you.
month or every year.
We did.
We fought
Yeah.
for that, and then it got pushed back because of Boones Creek.
We had it almost there.
Yes.
And then
yes.
they said, nope. We're like, gee.
Maybe I misunderstood. Is it
This
an
has been
estimate
going
of how
on
much they would
since
charge
Ron
to go
Dyke
look at
days.
this?
Yep.
just to give us a good faith
And
estimate.
I found out another
of what
thing that's
help.
kind of disturbing to
Okay, so
me.
estimates in both of them, okay.
Yes, please.
Every school that we play in football in our conference has got turf now.
Yeah, they do.
Hawkins County's even got turf.
Well, Hawkins County's playing on one field with 2 schools, 2
No.
high schools.
No.
No.
Oh, Cherokee, yeah.
Cherokee
yeah.
and,
Well-
Montana,
Yeah,
Morristown.
Hey, they actually were smart.
Well, and that's what I'd like to maybe,
I mean, really.
future thinking,
Bring back your.
if we can-
It's about $1 million.
Bring it on home, brother.
well, what I'm thinking is build one stadium and let Boone and Crockett share, like East does, East and West.
His
All
first
right,
thing, then he's
so
like,
we've got a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
I've got,
Quick,
oh,
go ahead.
no, I've never, before we adjourn, I got couple things to ask Mr. Patrick.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the motion and the second?
Oh, repeat
Do we
it,
need to
'cause
read it
I
again?
didn't. Oh, that's, yes. I
Engineer,
caught up
you
now.
second.
I got it.
We good?
Yeah, we don't chasing rabbits. I forget what we're talking about.
Okay. Do we need to read it again?
No, okay.
We're good, okay. All right, all in favor? All opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
that's hateful, Mike.
I'm sorry, I'm scared.
Mister, you've got something called a
That's
division of the
exactly
House.
He's going.
You need to re-vote and you need to be roll call.
Okay, we're gonna take another vote, roll call vote.
Did I get the vote, Dr. Flannery?
I'm not on this committee.
I think it's about- I get
Yeah,
that.
who's on the
Mr.
committee?
Buchanan?
All right, the voting members are Whitney Riddle, Mike Masters, Chad Fleener, and Annette Buchanan, and dang it, I am a voting member.
More counting on you.
I may just have to abstain on this. It's just,
All right. Mr. Buchanan,
What?
do you need to do that, Jennifer?
Yeah, Jennifer.
Either
Go ahead,
way.
Jennifer, you go ahead.
All right, Mr. Masters,
No.
Mr. Fleener,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan,
Yes.
Dr. Flannery,
I don't see any harm in getting a quote on the engineering study, so I'm gonna vote yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
carried. 4 yeses.
Now it's gotta go to the full board.
Right.
Well, just for the record, I agree with you wholeheartedly. This worries me a little bit about what outcome could be.
Well, I think it may get us a little bit more powder on.
Yeah,
Boys, you got more faith in the county commission.
We gotta go.
Do you keep dry fire?
I'm
All
telling
right.
you.
Any
We
more
gotta
discussion?
jump
Anybody have any more discussion you'd like to bring up, Mr. Master?
well, we got one thing answered. And I asked this back when I was on board the first time, and I don't know what happened, but I'm gonna.
I didn't answer it right the first time, or you didn't get the answer you wanted.
The concrete in front of Daniel Boone High School is very, very, very bad. And I'm sure it's from the salt,
Salt and flaking.
yes, but it's to the point now, you can see gravel. I'd like to get something going there, resurfacing or something in front of that school.
Like, is it the Sidewalks or
The sidewalks.
Okay.
The sidewalk, everything in front of the school that's concrete.
You're not talking about the drive area?
Oh,
You're
no, no,
talking
no,
about
no,
the
I'm talking
sidewalks.
about right from where you enter the gym and the front
Uh-huh.
doors.
Let me make some contact and see what I can find out.
Okay.
I'll just sweep it off, Mike, now keep slip resistant.
Well, that's what they
Well,
been
it's
doing.
coming winter time and they won't fall, cause it'd be rough,
Y'all will
so.
fight about it.
So you're gonna look
Huh?
into that.
Y'all will
for
fight
us,
about
sir?
anything. All they want is concrete fixed, man.
Well, you know, I was gonna say, they make epoxy
Hey,
Don't do
that you
that.
that's
can
what you need.
Top
spread out
dress,
over.
top dress.
they ain't got no covers over now there.
It's like a
I've
level.
always heard though it don't bond well, does it?
Oh, yeah, it does. I used it in the
Pockets
milk
all
barn.
covered up.
It's
while
good
that
stuff.
thing's going on.
I got it in
Inside or outside?
Yes, Mr.
inside,
No, you're
on
correct.
the
Will
cows.
it stand up to salt?
It stands up to the
Just
water
for what
and
it's
the
worth,
acid and
that
stuff.
might be cheaper than.
All those
Mine.
chemicals, yeah.
Chemicals.
Oh,
Cause
right.
it's right there. It's
Right.
concrete. The chemicals eat the floor up
Yeah.
and the water. And I put that in them, where the
Does
drain
anyone have
comes out.
anything else?
Shoot, it's as solid as it can
So,
be.
just to be clear, we will receive a list of what all work orders you have at BCE.
Yes, sir, you want things that they have repaired, fixed, or do you just want what's not being fixed
Well,
right now?
it'd be actually nice to see how many times something has been repaired. You know, if there's duplicate work orders, and I don't know nothing about your all's work orders. I'm looking at my job, we work on work orders. But it'd be nice to see if there's duplicates on the same system,
Yeah.
or, you know, what is wrong right now. And I'd like for the principals to look at this list before you submit it to us to make sure that there's nothing you're not missing. I'm
Okay.
not.
Yeah, because, you know, you're correct in saying that, because some of them will come to me in an email from the principal, or
I mean,
some
however
of
it
them come in
works.
work orders, some of them come to me as I walk down the hall at Boots Creek, and then I try to get a note to myself. So, yeah, let me get you what I've got together. It's been repaired, some things that we've had trouble with, like the lockers, we seem to be having a little issue. Not that they won't do it, it's just that, you know.
They said that the numbers they're given will not, all the masters will not open.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything, I don't even know what their lockers look like. So,
But, yes, sir, I'll try to get you something.
I mean, especially before we get in front of those people, because I'd like to,
Yeah,
you know what we've been experiencing besides just the hearsay that you hear. So,
Very good. Thank you for that, Mr. Patrick.